when you look at each other, like how are we so different? Like what happened?
They said in elementary school was like, adaptation. I think for like certain climates and stuff like that.
Adaptation to certain climate. All right, somebody else.
I mean, like we're all from like Africa, and we've originated from African women, and as we just emigrated out of Africa, we developed different features because of the climate. Like I know noses are different sizes because of how much air, like the humidity versus not humidity, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
So like our features are functional in different ways. So that's why we have different features.
Mm-hmm.
And like people from different areas of the world have different features, and they're similar features because that's what is suitable for that area.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Dude, awesome, man. Andrew, how about you? What would you add to that?
Just random mutations that like made someone, I don't know, more attractive or like better at doing something, and then those stuck around over time.
Uh-huh. What's a random mutation? Like what would that be?
So like if your genes change, so like the first blue-eyed people, like I guess they came from people with like brown eyes first, and like it just stuck around.
Uh-huh. So what do you think about when you look in a mirror? Andrew, like when like what do you see?
I mean, I'm usually looking at my hair, so like ginger hair, I guess, is the first thing I see.
Uh-huh. Ginger hair. Yeah. All right. What else? Like, how about your nose, man? Do you like your nose?
It's a little big.
What do you mean big?
I don't know. It's just like, it reminds me of like Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Wait, hang on. No, wait, you got to go a little more to the right. Yeah, right there. Oh, yeah, well, I don't know. What do you think? Chris, what do you think, man? Is his nose big?
No, his nose not big. It's just pointy. I got a bigger nose than him.
Let's look at your nose. Oh yeah, that's perfect. All right, hang on. Raga, how about you? Do you like your nose?
I mean, I don't not like my nose. I feel like my face would look weird if I had like a smaller nose though. So I feel like it fits my features, like the rest of my face.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't not like it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Can we look at it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. Chris, do you like your nose?
Oh, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah? And bro, you're cool with your nose, but it's like, now that you hear the two
Oh no,
of them,
yeah, I'm
like,
good with it. I just like, that's what it reminds me of.
there's an isness to all of this, right? So follow from what you said. Over time, human bodies are adapting to what all three of you said, right? Human bodies are adapting to different climates. Some of it is by selection, by things, people prefer certain body types or certain shapes of maybe a nose or whatever. Maybe somebody just happened to be in the right place at the right time to really reproduce their genes and like a nose that looked like yours or like Chris's or whatever. Or maybe there's just a genetic mutation, right, which you referenced, right, which could be just some kind of odd mutation that would just be something happens in the genes that just causes something to change. It just does. And then that genetic mutation gets passed on in that person's DNA. We all have mutations, right, that they don't get passed on, but some do. And then suddenly, like where you have like a whole family of people who maybe have a certain tick, right, like maybe in their ear or something like that. Maybe it's like a little piece out of their ear. It's just like a strange thing, right? I don't even know what to call it. And but you see, like each person in that genetic line has that, and that's a mutation that just happens. Like, oh my God, right? And so it's awesome. So anyway, the reason I asked about noses is because like our noses, like the rest of us, are the products of all of our ancestors. You of course you should like them because they are what our ancestors are. You know what I mean? Like if we didn't have like each of your noses is unique, right? And it mattered, and so that's helped your people to survive and thrive and so on. So it's like it's okay, it's awesome, right? It's just what happens is when we come along and we start to say, hey, let's say maybe there's like an actor or something who, like, for whatever reason, people make fun of, and then you have a nose that's similar to that person, and then suddenly you feel some kind of way about it. And brother, that's just like, but that's what we have to fight, right? That's like taking in other people's ideas. So do you know why your nose is flatter and wider?
I would assume because
Wait, hang on one second. Hang on before you answer. Notice I didn't say flat. Your nose is flat and your nose is wide. Because on the basis of what? What's the standard? Like, here, is my nose the standard? Like, what's the standard? Like mine here, like right here, like is that it? Like, that's not the standard. There's no standard. There's not a white standard, there's not a black standard. Most standards, if we're going to find a standard, it would be someone of Asian ancestry. Because the standard would be the majority of people on Earth. So we start right there. But there's no standard for anything. So I didn't say to Chris, like, hey, do you know why your nose is flat? Or do you know why your nose is wide? Because it's not flat and it's not wide. It only is compared to another nose. That's it. And so we have to always be thinking like that. But anyway, bro, do you know why your nose is flatter than Andrew's nose?
I mean, we're different races, right?
Yeah.
I know typically. I don't know.
Dude, that's an awesome answer, my friend. Do you know why your nose is more pronounced than Chris's nose or than Raga's nose? Do you have any idea?
I don't really know why. I know a lot of Italians have it though.
Yeah.
It runs in our bloodline, I guess.
Yeah. A lot of stuff runs Italian bloodline.
I think it's just like varying climates. Like, I think the U.S. like colder regions are meant to have like smaller noses that are like skinnier because like the cold air, it like dries out a nose if it's like too big.
I know my mom's from Barbados. My dad's from England, but his mom is from Barbados. I don't know where his dad is. His dad's like.
Yeah. But they're from West Africa.
Yeah.
Right? Barbados is a slave colony, so they're
Right.
from West Africa.
So like humid areas or like hotter areas could have bigger noses.
Flatter and wider.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and that's really important because what we're looking at, it's all relative to other features of our body. And so, here's the thing. When you're in a really the original noses on Homo sapiens, if we go back about 100 years, we all have kind of dark skin and we all have very similar noses, right? And the noses tend to be flatter. The noses of most people are going to be more like Chris's nose, a little flatter than my nose and wider than my nose. So what you want in really moist areas is you're taking the moisture into your lungs and you want to retain as much of it as you possibly can. So a flatter or wider nose is really good for that. In a cold climate, you want you ever be in the cold when you're in the cold, the three of you, and you like breathe really deeply, like, and it really hurts. Like, okay, so you don't want that, right? So in a really cold climate, you want your nostrils to be really thin and really long, and it warms the air before the air gets down into your lungs. Okay? In a really dry climate, we see the noses that are most pronounced away from the body. And for some reason, what that does is that allows in these dry climates to retain as much moisture in the lungs as you possibly can, which is where you want the moisture in your lungs in a really dry climate. And so like what we see in those areas are people with really pronounced noses that are not large, they're pronounced. I mean, however you want to say it, the key is just not to have that level, just have the level of scientific analysis and not judgment. Can you guys see that? So right about here in this Nilotic region, right around Ethiopia, and we see human beings starting to cross over and go. Traveling all these distances and around here and crossing the Bering Strait and going into the Americas, right? The original peoples. All right? So now, as you move to different areas, you encounter different climates and you encounter different conditions, and the body is going to adapt to those conditions, which is what we're already talking about, which is awesome. If the people whose bodies did not adapt to their conditions, their lineage died out. So they're not here. They didn't survive. They died out. They're not around anymore, right? All the children they would have had, they never had because Their bodies didn't adapt. Which one's Navajo, meaning American Indian from the Southwest? Which one is Peruvian and which one is Han Chinese? And Han Chinese is the main ethnic group in China. What would you say?
I'm not like entirely sure, but I think Navajo is like top left.
Uh-huh.
Peruvian might be bottom. Chinese, right?
Uh-huh. Andrew, what do you think?
I would agree with those.
Which one did you say is Peruvian?
Bottom left.
What do you think?
I go to the top. Top one.
The top one is what?
Peruvian,
Peruvian? Okay.
but I'm just guessing.
And the Chinese person? Chinese woman?
Probably on the bottom.
Bottom right? Why do you say that? Like what makes the top left look Peruvian?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't even know what Peruvian is. I'm just guessing. I'm assuming the bottom right one is Chinese, and then
And why the bottom right? What is it about her that makes her look Chinese?
I think it's the wider face.
Yeah.
But that's it.
They all look really they look so similar to me. Andrew, do they look different? How similar do they look to you?
They look pretty similar to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're starting right here with the genetics, the people with genetic admixture right here. Okay, so this is Han Chinese, traveling over the Bering Strait and populating the Americas. So here's Navajo down in here, and here's Peru right here. Right, so they have very similar genetic lineage, right? So they're the same people. They're all descended from the same people. So if you look at them, they're really very, very similar. Okay, let's look at this next one. Who's American? Chris, we're going to start with you. Well, now only one is American. It's not a trick question.
B?
What makes you say B?
I don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't. The other ones, I don't think they are.
I think it's B too because he's not bundled up like he's up in the cold, which would make me think he's more of like a Native American from like Arizona, New Mexico type of area.
He's not, by the way. Okay, so now that I just said that, he's inside and next to a fire.
I still think it's him, but I don't know.
Okay. Raga, how about you?
I mean, like any one of these people could really be American.
Uh-huh.
We're like a country made of immigrants. So, and it looks like there might be Native Americans up there. So they were here before us. So any one of them
All right, so
could be
here.
American. I don't know.
So look at this map here, right? So one group is from right here, and that makes them Siberian. Okay, and Siberia is part of Russia. Russia is a European country, so they're Europeans in a weird way. Of course, they're not, but they are. And the American, whoever the American is from right here, and so they have the exact same DNA, right? I mean, if we look at them, they're kind of the same person, right? In a certain sense, right? And so this one, she's American, and the rest are Siberian, right? And so this idea, when we're looking at features, we can't be looking just at like nations and continents and things. We have to be thinking about all of these factors and forces, right? A person's race, the biological features, our culture, our ancestry, our genealogy, our genetics, right? So they're from very different cultures, very different people, to identified as different races, so to speak. But they're the exact same people. Just, one lives here and one lives there, right? And so this is happening all the time. And so we also see people like the three of you who look very different, but in fact are very, very similar. In fact, you all share 99.99% of your DNA. Like there's only a small part of your DNA that is responsible for your external features. And as a result of that, it's like science plays a trick on us because you're the same. If you look down here, y'all, like they are the same genetically. There's essentially the same. There's a very tiny percentage of their DNA admixture that is connected to their external features. And so science, like life itself, plays this trick. God, I don't know, whatever you want to say, plays a trick. Because we're the same, but we look at you and we think, oh, you're so incredibly different. And then we want to find all these ways in which, your physical differences turn into sociological differences and one thing after another, but we're essentially the same.